just like, who is this wee fella who's been brought in? We don't know very much about him. He's just found this girl Claire, and he's ended up marrying her. But you're going to learn a little bit more about me today. And you know, back whenever I was a teenager, I went to the Royal School of Dungannon. At the Royal School of Dungannon, there was the most important thing at the Royal School of Dungannon was rugby. And I loved rugby at school. I would say the only reason I passed school was because I played rugby. Because in upper sixth, we had training after school on a Monday, so I had to go to school on a Monday. We had training before school on a Tuesday with strength and conditioning work, and I generally was made sick by the army guy that used to come in and do it. On a Wednesday, we either had a game or training during and after school, and on a Thursday we had a team run. And then there was a school rule that if you didn't turn up to school on a Friday, you couldn't play on a Saturday. On our matches were on a Saturday morning. So I was made to go to school to rugby. But there was one thing that I loved, and it was the All Blacks. I used to sit and I used to watch on YouTube. I used to watch videos of the All Blacks. And now this signature here is one of the greatest rugby players of all time. This is the signature of Dan Carter. But there was one rugby player that I loved more than any other. And I wanted to be this guy so badly, but I couldn't be him. I'll give you some stats. 19 stone. I couldn't get to that. And if I did, I wouldn't be in any way good shape. 6 foot 5 inches. I couldn't get to that either. But the thing was, he was this size, but he ran the 100 meters in 10.6 seconds. Do we have any guesses? I think there's one fellow will know. Stars, John. Jonah Lomu. So, I used to love Jonah Lomu, and for the children that are here that have never seen Jonah Lomu, I've got a couple of wee clips. I think it's Mike Cat maybe in this one. So I wanted to be Jonah Lomu. Me and Jonah Lomu played the same position. But Jonah Lomu to me is probably the greatest rugby player of all time. Just ran through a whole French team there. And this one's brilliant. Shows his speed here. Like he's 19 stone and they couldn't catch him. And then he just ran over him. So that was Jonah Lomu, and that was who I wanted to be so badly. He was big, he was strong, he was powerful, and those are things that we needed for rugby. And we're going to learn a wee bit more about rugby and what you needed. Who would like to come up? Who thinks they're strong? Denzel thinks he's strong. Come on, Denzel. I've got these weights. You hold your arms out like this and hold these weights, okay? Okay, I think that's very easy for you, Denzel. I think we're going to have to add a wee bit of weight. And this is what you wanted to do in rugby. You wanted to progressively overload and get more weight and more weight and more weight so that you would get stronger. So we're going to add a wee bit more weight, Denzel, see how it will go. Well, I didn't think Denzel would be the one up. I thought it might have been someone smaller. To be fair, these plates look big, but they aren't that heavy. There's one. I'll maybe get Stephen up to be a spot. Oh. Okay. We'll take the end ones off, will we? Back in the show.
hat.
Otherwise, we'll have to get my sister up. Okay, so let's see. Can you get them both up? You spot that side, I'll spot this side. Okay, so hold them up like that. Right, hold them as long as you can. And do you feel that in your shoulders? Yeah, I really feel that. Now, while Stephen's here, we might as well get him to do this. Yes. Okay, so let's see how you go. Just hold them up and hold it wide. Sure, we'll just let him stand there. So,
I hope you only 3 points. And they're very quick ones.
So can you feel that in your shoulders?
You're not seeing the face.
Is that not No, well, as we can say, this is hard. No, this is what, 5 kg on either side, and this is difficult for a man who would say that he can definitely lift more than 5 kg. Lifting 5 kg out like this and holding it for any length of time will really strengthen your shoulders. And to be a rugby player, you needed big shoulders. That's something that we had to do. And something else that we had to do was we had to be able to pass. So, Stephen, if I get you back up. Who wants to go and passing? Yeah, come on ahead. Keena, you come too. So, right, you pass the ball to Stephen. Good. Right, next one up. Pass the ball. Good. Next one. Good. 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 Now, whenever I was playing rugby, very good, well done, we had to whip the ball with a bit of pace. Now, sometimes when you whip the ball with a little bit of pace, it ended up like that. And that, stay where you are, that was very dangerous. Because I know if I got a receipt pass like that and Stephen was coming to hit me, he would have been rubbing his hands, because this is what is known as a hospital pass. And what happens was you go, bash, and you try and hit all these lovely organs, and you try and hurt them as badly as you could, and that was what was known as a hospital pass. Oh yeah, she would never have done that. Well, we all tried to do that. We all tried to win each other. We all tried to hurt each other. But I was that small that I couldn't get caught. So if Stephen was trying to tackle me, I would never have tried to run his shoulder. I would have tried to find a wee soft hand. Because if I was caught, I was going to get hurt. And that was just factual. So important thing, you can't show your organs. Okay? So, that's the next thing. So, to be a rugby player, you had to be brave. You can sit down. To be a rugby player, you had to also be brave. And you had to have discipline too. You couldn't be like Ireland were yesterday. The amount of yellow and red cards against South Africa. But you had to be brave. And, you know, in Joshua 1 verse 9, it says, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened. And do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." And you know, people in the Bible, when they're brave, we think of David. You could maybe liken David a little bit to me. I went out and I played against guys who were a lot bigger than me regularly. In fact, I was probably the smallest guy that did play. But lots of us have to be brave, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a certain person. So David is one example of someone that was brave. But we have someone else that came to mind whenever I was thinking of this, and it's a girl called Esther. Now, Esther, she was a really, really pretty girl, and her mum and dad died, unfortunately, and she was adopted by this guy, Mordecai. And there was a king. This king, it was King Xerxes, and he had this wife, Queen Vashti, and Queen Vashti didn't do what he wanted to do, so he got rid of Queen Vashti. And King Xerxes decided he would run a bit of a beauty pageant to find his next wife, and so they rounded up women from all over, and it happened that he picked Esther to be his next queen. So Esther was now queen, but there was this guy, Haman, and Haman, he was at the front gates, and this Mordecai guy, he wouldn't bow down to Haman, because Mordecai was a Christian, or a Jew, and he thought that we shouldn't bow down to anyone but Jesus, or but God. And you know, Haman, he got the king to write a decree that all the Jews would be killed, because he wanted to kill Mordecai. And you know, back in those days, if anyone went and talked to the king without being allowed to talk to the king, they could have been killed. You know, instantly, including his wife, could have been killed. And you know, when we think of it, the king, he had history. His last wife didn't do what he said, and she was got rid of. So Esther was now in a situation where she had to be very careful. She had to figure out something to do to manage to get this law reversed, because her entire people was going to be wiped out. All the Jews were going to be killed. And Esther, in Esther chapter 4, verse 16, what she says about it is, if I perish, she perish. If I perish, I perish. And so Esther built up bravery. She asked people to pray for her and fast and things like that. But she built up bravery, and Esther goes and asks the king to have dinner with her and Haman. Okay, so before that, the king had realised that Mordecai, who was the guy who had adopted Esther, he had actually saved the king's life, because he had heard a plot all about killing the king, and he managed to get the message across, and then the king was saved through that. And Haman was one of the king's advisors, and the king asked Haman, what should I do to honour someone if I wanted to honour them? And Haman said all these things, and that was great. And then he said, oh, that's great, I'll maybe do that for Mordecai. And then, later on that day, they had this dinner. So Esther, the king, and Haman had this dinner. And, you know, during the dinner, Esther finally told the king that someone had made a law to destroy her people. And the king was furious, and he asked, who dared to do such a thing? And Esther said, oh, it was Haman. And the king found out Haman wanted to kill Mordecai too, and he was enraged, and he ordered Haman to be killed, and the law was overturned. And Mordecai and the Jews, they were all saved from destruction, and that was because Esther was brave. In the same way that Esther risked her life for her people and ended up saving them, we have another rescuer. We have Jesus. And you know, what I was doing at the start was something that I learned from rugby. That you never want to show your organs, because you're vulnerable. And whenever we go and give a hug, we're vulnerable. And Jesus left himself vulnerable. Jesus came and he was like this. And as we've seen, Steve, who is quite a strong man, he had 2 5 kg dumbbells, but holding your weight up by your arms is very strenuous. And he went through all that pain for us, lived a perfect life, and he died and rose again so that we can have life with him forever. And you know, Jesus is our ultimate hero and hope. So what I want you to remember is to be bold, be strong, and Jesus is with you. Okay?
I was so pleased because when Janice isn't here for Kids Church, it means I get to pick songs. But this week John was picking the song, and he picked a song that I just love doing. So the kids aren't on their own in this, the kids need everybody to help them. So if you know this, stand up and join in. You can do that. Go on there, up you go. Action.
Be strong, for the Lord your God is with you. Be bold, be strong, for the Lord your God is with you. I am not afraid, no, 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 I am not dismayed, not me, 'cause I'm walking in faith and victory. Come on, walking in faith.